Hey, welcome back. Dave Dubeau here. And today we're going to be talking about, can you use a Heloc, a home equity line of credit, to buy an investment property? We're going to take a look at what are the scenarios where you might want to do this, what are the pros, what are the cons, and most importantly, how can you use other people's Helocs to grow your portfolio? Stay tuned. Okay, so first things first, what is a Heloc? A Heloc stands for Home Equity Line of Credit. That's what a Heloc is. And what does that actually mean? Well, it's a revolving line of credit that's typically attached to your home or to a property that you own. Okay, so the way that works is you've got your main mortgage on the property, and then typically you've got a home equity line of credit on top of that that allows you to pull out money as needed. You can use that Heloc, that home equity line of credit, just like a regular line of credit. You can take money out and you could put money back in. And typically you're only paying interest on the money that you've pulled out while you're using it. If you don't use any of that home equity line of credit, you don't make any payments, but it's available to you if needed. So what's the difference between using a Heloc and traditional financing when you're purchasing an investment property? Well, big difference. For doing a traditional financing for an investment property, you personally have to save up all of the money to put in for the down payment, closing costs, property transfer taxes, etc. So you have to save that money up, and then that's what you use for that down payment. Now, on the other hand, when you're using a Heloc, you're kind of using the bank's money, right? You're pulling this money out from your home equity line of credit. You're using that instead of your hard-earned savings in order to get into that revenue property. So you're buying it using the equity in your own home instead of the savings in your pocket. So what are some of the advantages to using a Heloc versus other forms of financing for buying revenue properties? Well, a big advantage of this is speed and flexibility. If you've got a Heloc set up on your primary residence, then you can access that immediately anytime that you want. So you've got speedy access to the cash. So say, for example, you find a smoking deal and you need to close on it very quickly. You can do that if you've got access to the money, the equity in your own home. So speed is number one. Number two is this can be a much less expensive form of financing things than, for example, if you're bringing on a joint venture partner, or if you're using a private lender, or heaven forbid, you're using a hard money lender to come up with the money for the down payment. You can get much more affordable capital this way than some of the other methods available to you. So what are some of the pitfalls to using your Heloc as the money for down payments and to purchase other properties? Well, the big disadvantage is that it means that you're going to be having to come out of pocket for that money starting 30 days from when you pull it out. So as soon as you're starting to use the money in your home equity line of credit, you're going to have to start making payments on that loan. So depending on how you have that set up, it might be interest only, or it might be some interest and principal. Really depends on the deal that you've got with the bank that you've done the Heloc with. But bottom line is, it's going to mean that you're going to have to come out of pocket to pay for that money. Versus if you saved up the money that you use for the down payment, sure, you're going to put that in, but you don't have to pay interest on that. It's your own cash. Does that make sense? So you're paying interest on the money. You're paying interest on your own equity to use that as the down payment money. So how do you qualify for a home equity line of credit if you don't already have one? But basically, just go talk to your bank and see how much equity you've got in your home, and whether they're willing and able to give you a home equity line of credit. That's really what it comes down to. They're going to take a look at, number one, how much equity you have in the property. Number two, what's your credit score. Number three, what's your income. Number four, what's your debt to income ratio, those kind of things. And that's what they're going to determine whether you qualify for the Heloc or not. It's pretty much kind of the same kind of hoops that you had to jump through to get the mortgage in the first place. It just tends to be a lot faster. Now, here's a great example of using your Heloc to invest in revenue properties. It's actually myself and my wife. A couple of years ago, we pulled out $100,000 equity in our primary residence via a home equity line of credit. And we used that to get a 25% stake in a small multifamily property, a 6-unit apartment building. And we turned that, with our joint venture partner, we turned that into a furnished medium-term rental. So the way we got that deal structured is, until we get that property refinanced and all stabilized and everything going according to plan, we're getting a preferred rate of return on that money. So in our case, we're getting 8% preferred return on that money. So we invested $100,000. We're getting paid $8,000 every year. But what it cost us to borrow that money was much, much less. In fact, I believe it was somewhere around $3,500, if not $4,000 a year. So we're paying $4,000 a year, but we're getting in $8,000 a year on basically the bank's money. So it's a way for us to use the bank's money to buy property, to increase our net worth, to create cash flow, to enjoy mortgage pay down, all of the different profit centers with a small multifamily deal, while we're utilizing our own home equity. You can do the same thing. Now, here's something else you might want to consider when you're looking at home equity lines of credit. It doesn't necessarily need to be your home equity line of credit. So just like I said in the example of myself and my wife investing, we joined forces with an active real estate investor. He found the deal. He's got the deal under go. He's managing the whole thing. He brought us in as joint venture partners on this deal. So we're investing our home equity line of credit in our communal property. So you could do the same thing. You could be the active investor and you find people who don't necessarily have $100,000 cash laying around, but they do have equity in their homes, and you can show them the big benefits of accessing that equity to become real estate investors. How they can make money from their own home equity, how they can make money off the bank's money, and how they can do that passively. So that is a fantastic way to use OP Heloc, other people's home equity lines of credit. And speaking of that, if you want to learn hands-on exactly how to do that, how to access other people's money, how to access other people's home equity line of credit, then you might want to check out my book, Money Partner Formula, because we walk through this step by step. I'm going to give you this book for free. I'll just trade it to you for your name and your email address, and you can get your copy by clicking on the link in the description below, or head on over to investorattractionbook.com. Get your copy today. And this is going to walk you through how to get your first or your next investor in a matter of weeks, and even raise 7 figures in a matter of months with a proven system where you don't have to chase people, you're going to attract investors to you. So go ahead and grab your copy today.